All right, we got 3 trades to get all caught up on this channel. We'll start off with the oldest trade. It happened March 1st. So was that 5 days ago? Minor trade. You got Zakhar Bardakov going to the Colorado Avalanche, along with a 2024 7th-round draft pick. That's this year's draft pick. The Devils in exchange get Curtis MacDermid. MacDermid, fourth-line guy, can play center if you need him to, winger. More of one of those physical presences, can play a little defense. At times can be a bit of a liability on the ice, but not so much so that it's noticeable most shifts. Maybe, every once in a while you'll notice something that's like, ooh, he could have done better. But Devils need to get bigger, a little more physical. MacDermid definitely helps in that aspect. They give up Bardakov, who is playing in the AHL. I got his stats up already because I'm on top of it. 12 points in 51 games for Scott St. Petersburg. He's a -3. Physical guy, 78 penalty minutes so far. We'll see if he signs over in America. I'm not 100% sure that happens, but you never know. Regardless, 7th-round pick, for Curtis MacDermid. Sounds about right. Moving on to the next trade, we have the Vegas Golden Knights. I got my Vegas jersey on because I feel like I'm going to be wearing Florida Panthers come playoff time. Vegas Golden Knights get winger Anthony Mantha. Mantha, one of those guys with a history a history of injuries. Please excuse me. 50% of Mantha's current contract was retained. He's a unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. So Vegas only obtains a cap hit for Mantha of $2.85 million. That's not bad. Mantha he's already scored 20 goals this season. It has that kind of 30-goal ceiling, but a multiple mid-20s goal scorer throughout his career. Again, key for Mantha is just to stay healthy. Second line, top 6 forward potential ceiling, but more or less suited for a third line role at this point. Definitely one of those middle 6 winger kind of guys. Let me just grab his stats. 56 games played this year for Mantha, which is great for him. 20 goals, 14 assists, 34 points. He's a +5, 17 penalty minutes, so overall not too bad. What else? So Washington Capitals in exchange for Mantha and retaining his contract, they get a 2024 2nd-round pick and a 2026 4th-round pick. Not too bad. Mantha alone, with his injury history, having one of those, career years, at least as of the last 5 years. 2nd-round pick, about right. 4th-round pick to retain salary from Vegas. Makes some sense. So I like this trade. I think this really helps Vegas, though. I think Anthony Mantha is slightly underrated in the eyes of many because he's always hurt, because he's not really on the ice. But he's a great player, especially when he gets going with a team. He finds the appropriate line mates. He can be a pretty solid player. He's a power forward, big guy. So I really like that for Vegas. I think that's a solid pickup right there. I don't think Vegas needs to do a whole lot more. I'm sure they will. They got plenty of money to spend. But Mantha is one of those might end up being under the radar picks that really helps them push forward. So I like this move for Vegas. I think Washington got a decent haul as well. They got their money's worth out of Mantha for the most part. In terms of this specific trade, Mantha's current worth, I don't think they got fleeced. I don't think they did the fleecing. I think it's about right. Last trade on the board, this happened, today? We got the Florida Panthers acquiring Vladimir Tarasenko. Tarasenko signed, remember that 1-year, $5 million contract with the Ottawa Senators. Fired his agent, and then I think fired his new one again. So I don't know. I think he's on his 3rd agent in a year. Regardless, Tarasenko, remember, had a full no trade clause, so he had to approve any trade that was going to take place. More likely than not, he gave a list of teams he'd be willing to be traded to the Senators. And it probably had 2 or 3 teams on it, so there's only so much the Senators can do. You need to get something out of this guy. He's not going to re-sign. He wants to win. He wants a bigger contract, right? You're probably not going to be able to re-sign him. So get something rather than nothing for him. So Panthers get Vladimir Tarasenko with 50% of his salary retained. So their cap hit on the Panthers is only $2.5 million. Senators get a 2024 fourth round pick. That is conditional. If Florida wins the Stanley Cup this year, that becomes a third round pick for this year. And they also get Florida's third round pick next year's draft. So not quite the haul you want to see for a guy like Tarasenko, known playoff performer. He has 41 points in 57 games so far. Should hit 20 goals. Right, pretty low in terms of the penalty minutes. He only has 12 this year. That's 6 minors in 57 games, which is pretty solid. Again, you're mostly acquiring Tarasenko for his playoffs at this point, his playoff abilities. He's a force in the playoffs. He's just such a beast. Going to be an asset for Florida. But yeah, there's only so much the Senators could do. I think Florida wins this trade, but I don't think the Senators could have done a whole lot, and at least they got something rather than nothing for a guy like Tarasenko. So that's all I got. We're all cut up on trades. I'll keep it coming. I'm off from work on the trade deadline to focus on this. Tomorrow is Thursday, the day before the trade deadline. Jeez. So we might see some things happen tomorrow. I'll be here for it. This is because it's trade deadline day. It's one of the most exciting days of the year. So this has my full attention moving forward for the next couple of days. So it's exciting. We'll see what happens. I do have to go into the office tomorrow at work, which is fine. But there's going to be, if some trades happen morning, midday, I might be a little later to report on that than some others. So just an FYI. But I appreciate you watching. Take care. All right.